welcome back to another episode of Sit with Shy. Today I'm joined by the podcasters Nolatexneeded, and we're going to be talking about podcasting, their experiences with podcasting, and then other things as well. Before we delve into that, can you guys just briefly introduce yourself and let people listening know kind of what you do?
Cool.
All right, so hi, I'm Rosa Green, also known as Skitty.
I'm Shane McGowan, also known as Kimosabe.
Yeah, and we're just like collaborative podcast. We're a married couple. And we just talk about like a range of topics. Or say we're like uncensored stuff because like we do a lot of like cussing on our podcast. So
it's the beauty of not having any sponsors, not yet at least.
That's really cool. So like, how long have you guys been doing podcasting in general?
Oh shoot!
I think it's like for sure over a year now, though. It's kind of been slowed down lately.
Yeah, brilliant. So like you guys' podcast motto is raw, uncut, uncensored, and completely entertaining. And when I've listened to some of you guys' episodes, I definitely would agree with that. Where did you guys like want your direction of the podcast to go? So you briefly mentioned that you wanted it to be a space where, for example, you can cuss, you can be yourself, things like that. Where did that kind of come from?
I don't know, because I listened to a couple of like podcasts in the past, and like also watch like a lot of YouTube as well, and that's like there's like so many rules and restrictions, and it's kind of like they can't really say what they want. So like I just wanted to create like my own thing, so we could just say whatever we want essentially.
Yeah, it goes a long way back. Before Nolatexneeded started, I actually had my own podcast with my band, Galaxy Beat, which we called The Drunken Bard. And where the idea for that came from was that, like Rosa here, I listen to a lot of podcasts. And, I just thought of it one day. I'm like, oh, what if, we just grab a microphone, we just say whatever, you know what I mean? And I think that's kind of the gist of a lot of podcasts. Just grab 3 or 4 of your best friends and then turn on the microphone, record it, and just say whatever. You know what I mean? It's awesome. It's like a fireside chat, but in the 2020s.
I agree, and I think that it makes it kind of like more relatable when you're just being like really unfiltered and kind of just saying like what's on your mind. I think a lot of viewers, they kind of like really resonate with that as well. Has that been you guys' experiences with your listeners?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, definitely.
Fantastic. When I was looking through you guys' podcast, you have a mix of different topics, kind of like mine. So far, what would you say is your favorite episode that you've recorded together?
Oh man, that's a really good one. Probably when we had like 2 other people from the episode The Job from Hell, like we were like talking about like our experience with a toxic work environment. And I felt like it was like a really important one to make, because like some people, like they might be in that situation, like, oh man, like I need a job, but like it kind of like sucks to be in it. And then like just to tell them like, hey, like if you're in that situation, like the signs, kind of like signs to look for, and like just get out of it.
It's our what I would say it's our boldest one yet too, because we knew that there was a chance, even though we try to take precautions such as changing the names and all this other stuff, that still people from that job might still contact us and take it the wrong way, which they did. I received some messages, you know what I mean, but I don't regret it at all. As a matter of fact, one of the people that spoke on our podcast on that episode, he said it was very therapeutic for him to talk about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I have no regrets, and I absolutely love that episode, and I think it's the only episode that I'll actually go back and listen to a lot.
I liked that episode as well, and I liked how candid you guys were, or like kind of like true to what was being said. I think a lot of times, sometimes when we're doing podcasting, at least for me, sometimes you wonder like how far you should go with what you're saying, or maybe even the questions that you asked. So yeah, it was a good episode. How did you deal with, like, as you said, there was a little bit of backlash. How did you deal with that or overcome that, would you say?
So I remember one of the supervisors from the job that we had, I was also a supervisor as well. And, he and this guy, we always had a great relationship, and it's kind of strange. So he contacted me on Facebook Messenger. No, wait. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. First, he called me and he was talking to me about the episode. And he's like, "Hey, do you think that I can be on an episode of the podcast?" I said, "You want to talk about your experiences?" He's like, "Yes, absolutely. I have a lot to say, and I'll tell you all this stuff." And I said, "Oh, yeah, no, we'll set it up, And then this is where it gets strange. Then the next day, he messages me on Facebook Messenger and he goes, "Hey, I just heard the podcast where you guys called me an orangutan and you said this and that or whatever." And I said, no. I said, "You got it all wrong. We used those code words so that we to protect your identity." I said, "Also, if you go back and listen to that episode, we weren't making fun of you or whatever. As a matter of fact, it's quite the opposite. We were saying how you were in an unwinnable position of being, this middleman or whatever." And he never contacted me after that. And that was it. So, but, the important thing is to stick to your guns. And, I even went back and listened to the episode again just to make sure. And I was like, yeah, no. And I even asked Rosa and I even asked the other two. I'm like, I don't think we say anything bad.
No.
So,
yeah.
So I was very confused by that. I'm sorry.
So sorry. My internet keeps chopping in and out. So sorry.
Oh, yeah, no worries.
Do you have any advice for people that maybe that they're starting a podcast and possibly the themes that they might talk about could be a bit touchy in terms of bringing guests on? Do you have any advice on what they should do in terms of their questioning or things that they need to do in advance to that? How could they not make what happened, kind of what happened to you guys, happen to them, if that makes any sense?
You want to take that one?
No, you can take it.
Okay, fine. I guess I guess the best thing to say. Whoa, excuse me. Sorry. I guess the best thing to do in that situation, if you're starting a podcast, the first thing that you should do is first think about at least 3 things you want to talk about, 3 things that you like, and
just something you really want to get out there.
Yeah. Start with the stuff that you like, and then if you want to go into more touchier subjects, first and foremost, make sure you have the right information about it, research it, so that way when, God forbid somebody comes up to you and says, "Well, that's wrong," and you're like, "No, well, here's the research here." And that's where I discovered this stuff. And just if you're going to bring somebody on board as well, a guest,
have a specific theme or topic in mind for them.
And also just give them the give them the right amount of time to get their stuff out, let them say their piece on the show. Be very respectful to your guests. So
Thank you for your insight. I really appreciate that, and I think it would help a lot of the people that are listening that are thinking about maybe starting their own podcast or YouTube channel, for example. I wanted to say as well, when I was listening to some of you guys' episodes, you could really see the chemistry between the two of you. You would bounce off of another comment like that. Yeah, and it was really, really cool. Where does, obviously you're a married couple, do you think that's where that chemistry comes from, or is it how do you guys do your episodes? Where does the chemistry come from, would you say?
Yeah, from our marriage, because first obviously we're friends, and I think we're not just a married couple, we're best friends.
Yeah, and we sort of before every episode, obviously we're this is what we're going to talk about, and then we kind of bullet point it. It's do this, do that, and we try to set a time for ourselves every episode so we don't go too long. So
yeah. Do you sometimes go off script, or do you try and stick as much as possible to your script when you're planning your podcast?
Well, we'll have a quote unquote script, so most of it's unscripted. So the only thing that's really scripted is at the end when I say my writing and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's the only thing that's scripted.
Yeah.
Everything else is just totally, off scripted.
Off the rails.
And the beauty of a podcast too is that you can do sort of hand signals to each other, kind of say this is going too long, or wrap it up, So that's the beauty of it. Yeah.
Fantastic. I actually wanted to ask you guys about your stage names or like podcast names because they're quite cool. So I know that one of you goes by Kimosabi and the other one goes by Ski. Where did that actually come from? Is that you guys' nicknames or how did you come about those names?
Actually, because I started Instagram like basically when it started, and then I liked the Pokemon Skitty, and I'm like, I don't want to get in trouble by Nintendo, so I just changed it to IE at the end, so that's where it comes from. But like, I've been using it like forever, like ever since like my teen years.
Cool, very cool. And then where did Kimosabi come from?
So I've used several names over the years. You know, I've been doing music for over 10 years, and I've always tried to use like different stage names. At one point it was King Tut, another one was Papa Shango, and then one day, what do you call this? I remember I was watching The Lone Ranger, and then I remember Tonto that he would call the Lone Ranger Kimosabe. And I said, man, I wonder what that means, and I looked it up. And, you know, in this Indian language, I forgot which one specifically, it means friend. I said, man, that's really cool. And that's why I chose the name Kiyosame, because I'm a friend to everyone.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool. Thank you for giving us the backstory on like where your names came from. It's really cool to see stuck on. As well, when I've been looking through not only your episodes but then also like your social media as well, I can see that you guys are music lovers. The first thing I want to ask you guys is like, if you had to pick, I know it's hard, but if you had to pick a favorite artist, who would you both pick individually?
Oh, wow,
that's a good one. My go-to is Joy Division for sure.
Oh, man. For me, I guess if I only had to pick one, I guess it would have to be Ozzy Osbourne. Absolutely. Okay. Yeah.
Is that reflective of you guys' like favorite genre of music, or do you have a wide genre of music that you listen to, would you say?
Well, we both have a wide genre of music. Like, you know, Rosa, you know, just recently started getting into more, you know, hip hop and rap because I've been showing her, you know, movies like Straight Outta Compton and all this other stuff. So she's been able to hear, you know, what I grew up on, essentially. And we both, you know, we have, like I said, a wide range of music. Like, we don't just stick to one genre.
Believe it or not, I've started listening more like Japanese music because my mom got into anime recently, and she's like, oh, I want to learn Japanese. And I'm like, I don't want her like learning by herself. So I started to learn with her. So kind of like get used to hearing more Japanese. I listen to like from like different songs from like my favorite animes like Dragon Ball and like Death Note, Soul Eater and stuff like that.
Cool, very cool. As well, I could see that you guys have a passion for wrestling. Do you guys actually watch wrestling, or is that just like a hobby of yours? Where does it come from, that passion for wrestling, would you say?
Well, for me, my family, they always watched wrestling. So, you know, growing up, that's all we did. We watched wrestling. I would watch it with my two brothers. And, you know, it was one of those things where I think my parents probably looked at it and said, oh, he'll grow out of it. And here I am. I'm almost 30 and I still love it, you know.
And funny enough, like my family also is like wrestling fans, but like I never really got into it until like I met him. But you know, we try like there's like a local one called Coastal Championship Wrestling, or CCW, that we try to go to like at least like one show a month. So
yeah, because you know, we like to support we love watching, you know, WWE and AEW and stuff, but we also like to support, you know, the local talent, because these are the guys that are going to be the future, and they're the ones that are going to get signed. So it's important to, you know, cheer for them now before they get on TV.
When I went to Florida, I actually was lucky enough to go and see one of the local wrestling shows, and I think that's the first time I've actually seen wrestling live, and it was so awesome. For you guys, what gives you guys like the buzz when you're watching wrestling, would you say?
It is, for me, I think it's a combination of just the in-ring style, because you imagine you have all these, like, wrestling is the only place that I know of where you can have a diverse cast of characters. Like, it's the only place I know where a pimp, a porn star, an undead mortician can all be co-workers, you know? And, you know, there's a lot that goes more into that, but it's just like, man, like what a diverse cast of people, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and like some of the wrestlers like really get into like their character too. So like that's really cool, and like seeing like the energy from like the fans.
Ooh, I actually agree. I'd never seen people get so loud before. People literally like shouting. I was like, wow. It was really cool to experience that firsthand. If you guys were to try and create like a wrestling persona, what kind of persona would you make, and what would your wrestling name be?
Oh my gosh, that's a loaded question.
Nah, I thought about this all my life. I thought about it all my life, and I've put in my persona out there, like in video games and whatnot. I think the one thing I would go for, and it's a little cliche, but it's been done a lot in wrestling, but would definitely go for like just like a billionaire type of wrestler. Come out in just fancy cars and just say things like what I mean. Like I would basically make it a combination of both Richie Rich and Prince Akeem from Coming to America, where essentially everywhere I walk, there would have to be rose petals on the floor. It's funny because it takes the bare minimum to make people angry. Like as soon as you tell them, hey, I'm better than you, whatever, then like they eat it up. So I would definitely do that. Now, in terms of a ring name, oh god, that's hard.
Yeah, I know.
Like my username probably, and just like be like a cat person.
Yeah,
and then like bring cats into the ring.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Sorry. Okay. You mentioned quickly going back to the music because it just popped up in my head now. You mentioned about like straight out of Compton and R&B and hip hop. I saw your episode called something about NWA. It was quite a good episode. What was the idea behind that episode? Did it link back to like your childhood or your interest in music? Tell us a bit more about that.
Well, yeah, we had just finished watching Straight Outta Compton, and Rosa was really into. She got really into Eazy-E, especially, and it was just like a no-brainer. Just like, hey, let's do an episode on it because NWA, they have such a rich history, and they go more beyond just being a hip hop group. These guys, they stuck it to the government, the FBI more specifically. You know what I mean? And you think about this was the reason why they call Eazy-E the godfather of rap is because he harbored, these guys that we know today. Like without NWA, there is no 50 Cent, there's no Eminem, there's no, there's no Snoop Dogg either because, there's Dr. Dre and there's Ice Cube, you know what I mean?
True. So like they paved the way for a lot of modern day hip hop and R&B artists.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I know it's hard to pick again, but if there was like a modern day sort of like hip hop or R&B artist that you think is really good, obviously you can't compare them to NWA and other artists as well from that era. But like, who do you think is pretty good right now?
As of right now, in terms of rap, there's really only like one person. Well, no, actually, there's a couple of rappers that I enjoy. I think Kendrick Lamar is hands down the best one of them all. I think he's fantastic. What do you call this? Now, every now and then, like some people will say like, oh, they call this real rap or whatever. But sometimes, rap is like comedy. It doesn't have to be serious all the time. It can be a little silly, and I also like Young Thug. I grew up a lot on Migos when I was in high school. Yeah, I mean, my band and I, we love Migos, and we were heartbroken when we heard the news about Takeoff, and we still are. So, the others that I'm trying to think about, Gunna has a wonderful voice. I think he's fantastic. And in terms of other rappers, man, I don't know. The only singer that pops into my mind right now would be The Weeknd. I think he's amazing, and it's been fantastic because when he first came out, like it was kind of like an underground thing. It was, man, did you hear The Weeknd? Like he's got these like mixtapes or whatever, and then he turned all his mixtapes into this like 3-part album, and now he's like one of the biggest pop stars. It's so cool.
Do you guys listen to a lot of rap, or even other genres of music outside of the US, sorry. So like, for example, in the UK, we listen to a lot of like US rappers and obviously UK rappers as well. Do you guys listen to any UK rappers or any other countries?
Well, I don't know about UK. I know that I've heard a couple of South African artists, and
Yeah.
good Lord, I forgot the name of it, but I remember there was like this super popular dance when I went to South Africa in 2014. And man, I gotta, it's somewhere on my SoundCloud. I still have it, but yeah,
Is it
I
Jerusalem?
remember. Which one?
It's called Jerusalem. I don't know if that's the one you're thinking about. Jerusalem. There's like a dance that goes with it. It was really
That's
popular
it.
over here as well.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
that's it. Yeah. Yeah,
It was
yeah.
really, really good.
Yeah, I remember going to like a house party and I saw like everybody doing it. And it was really quick to pick up on. And I remember watching the music video for it and everything. I was like, man, this is really cool. Like in South Africa, they really love house music. So
Yeah, house is good.
yeah.
And Mappy, all of that. Awesome. So you mentioned briefly about your band. I actually didn't know that you had a band. What kind of genre of music do you guys do?
Well, we're multi-genre. We do everything from punk rock, alternative rock, classic rock, hip hop, rap, and just a bit of funk as well.
Mm-hmm. Rosa, do you sing or do any music things as well?
No, I'm not musically talented at all. I'm just
Okay. No.
Oh,
Well, I
we
actually love
had
writing as well.
Yeah.
Well, we had
Sorry,
that.
the internet.
Yeah. My bad. Well, I was trying to say there was that one show that we did, and she did perform poetry with my band.
Oh yeah, like I was kind of like inspired by Jim Morrison, like one of like his favorite artists. That like he did he like sung and stuff, but like he did like some music where like he just did spoken word. So that's what I did like with like the Doors doing the background music. So
Fantastic. I like poetry and spoken word as well. I actually do a lot of it also. So like going in that direction really quickly, like what's your process when you're writing a poem or you're doing a bit of spoken word? What's your process of writing? I know different people have different ways that they actually do it. What's yours?
it's more like when I like feel like strongly about something. Like I guess like a recent example, like my grandmother passed like before the new year. So like there was like a lot of like writing into that. Like it's just that like I have to like feel strongly about something, and like I would like write letters to her even though like she's passed, but like that really like helps me as well. So
No, I agree. Writing is definitely like therapeutic, and it can help you actually kind of like navigate through your emotions or even your situation that you're going through. So it's good that you're able to use that as an outlet for yourself. Would you like to do more of like spoken word things in the future? I don't know about the spoken word in America.
Yeah, most definitely. Like that was like fun to like kind of like brainstorm like what the background music should be. So like it was fun like trying out different things. Like he took out his piano and like we tested out like different like sounds. And then like we brought in the band and then we also like did some tests, and then like just kind of like working on like what my pacing should be and like how fast, slow,
What advice would you give to someone, and it can kind of link towards podcasting as well because you are speaking, it's not spoken word, but you are speaking. What advice would you give someone that has fear of public speaking and they do want to pursue that? What could you do?
I mean, for me, like I do like have anxiety, but like just kind of like I don't know, find like the will, like the motivation to just like go out there, like kind of like in a way like fake it till you make it. Like just be like bold enough to like just it's kind of like you just kind of have to do it.
Yeah, man, I think it's like riding a bike. Every time you get on it, you might fall a couple of times, but after that fifth time, you're gonna get really good at it. Another thing that I do when I'm performing on stage, and sometimes, I still get those goosebumps, and I get a little nervous, whatnot. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll put on a pair of sunglasses so that way the audience doesn't see my eyes and it's not so awkward. And that's one way to do it. And then there's also the one that they taught me like throughout all my time in like middle and high school, which is just look at the wall, basically. Just stare at the wall, and the audience will still think you're looking at them. And
Brilliant. I actually deal with a bit of anxiety as well. So like I'm a teacher, so I have to talk in front of a lot of like young people all the time, and it's strange when I'm teaching. I don't necessarily get that anxiety, but then when I'm in front of I don't know, like an older group of people, or I'm singing or reading a poem, I do get those jitters. So those things that you've mentioned, they're definitely useful, and I think loads of people can use it to help themselves. With what would you guys say? I've lost my question. Sorry.
That's right. All right. Yeah, it's all right.
Let's talk about blah, blah, blah. I've lost that question. I'm going to go on to a different one. Okay. If you guys could collaborate with anyone, who would it be and why? So it could be either on your podcast, or it could be respectively in music or your spoken word. What would you do? Who would you have? Sorry.
Actually, we did catch like an online comedy show, Uncle Roger or Nigel on YouTube. He's on YouTube, and we're thinking, hey, we want him on our podcast.
Yeah, you're funny.
Yeah, like have him like roast us.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. I would love to have. I would love to interview a wrestler on our podcast. More specifically, if I had to pick just one, it would definitely be Stone Cold Steve Austin. You know, he does his own podcast, and I just think he would be a riot. You know what I mean? Because if you've ever heard the man speak for at least 5 minutes, like everything is, well, goddamn kid, you know, I'm here on the ranch, and you know, I'm drinking a beer, and I got Hershey the Wonder Dog. You know, I think it'd be a hoot.
I'll give Mike Judge.
Mike Judge, the creator of Beavis and Butthead, yeah. He's an interesting guy. Yeah. I've heard a lot of his interviews and whatnot, and like just his way of thinking and like the way that he comes up with, you know, a lot of these characters. Obviously, you know, he's not just known for doing Beavis and Butthead, he's also done King of the Hill as well. Yeah. And in interviews, he explains like how these characters have come to life. You know what I mean? Like we saw this interview where he was on Jimmy Kimmel. He explained the Boomhauer character, and basically he got a phone call from like an angry fan about Beavis and Butthead, but for some reason they thought the show was called Porky's Butthole, and he says that the guy was very. He goes, I couldn't understand a word that the guy was saying. He was like, yeah, man, you know, I want to talk about that dang old pork butthole, man, you know. And he just turned into a character.
Do you guys watch a lot of animated sort of like adult humor shows, or not really?
Oh, I think so. I mean,
mainly Beavis and Butthead.
Well, yeah, no, there's Beavis and Butthead. I wouldn't call it adult, but like, I guess it's one of those like children's show, but it's also for adults. I love Regular Show.
Yeah.
Futurama, The Simpsons.
Close enough,
which was made by the same guy who did. But yeah, I love anime series.
Yeah, and then obviously anime, Japanese. So.
What anime would you recommend? I've just started to watch Death Note, which is actually quite interesting.
Yeah.
Is there any other ones that you'd recommend for me to start watching, or the viewers as well?
Well, I'm really into Chainsaw Man. You can like see by like my phone case, and I got like I can't really show. Oh man, I have like a Chainsaw Man tattoo as well. That one's like a really good one. It's about like devils and devil hunting and stuff like that. Another kind of like basic ones would be like Naruto, Dragon Ball, which like my brother is really into. Oh my god, there's this one's like more like a slice of life genre. Komi Can't Communicate. It's like a girl, like she has like trouble like communicating, and like she befriends like this one boy, and like he's trying to help her have like 100 friends. Also like kind of resonate with that because like, you know, I've had like a fear of like talking to people, so like it's cool to see like her like gaining more friends and like speaking more.
Yeah. That's awesome. Have both of your love for animes like developed since childhood, or is it something that you've newly kind of found and got an interest in?
Yeah, definitely like since childhood.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. You know, my brothers and I, we grew up loving Dragon Ball Z, and then my little brother and I, we absolutely loved Naruto. And, you know, we also got into shows that were clearly inspired by anime. Like, it took me a while, but I got into Samurai Jack. Teen Titans.
Yeah, that was a really good one.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Oh my god, I can't believe I didn't mention my favorite anime of all time, Full Metal Alchemist.
Oh yeah.
What's that one about?
It's like alchemy. It's like two brothers. I think it's like, wow, it's been a while. They're trying to like resurrect like their mom, and then like goes wrong. He loses like an arm and a leg, and then the brother loses like a whole body, so he's like in a suit armor. And then the other brother lost his arm and leg, like it's a like a metal thing, so like metal, like bionic, like arm and leg.
It sounds like an interesting one. I'll definitely give that one a watch.
Yeah.
Do you think better? Okay, this is a question I actually asked my friends not so long ago. Do you listen to anime dubbed, or do you listen to it with like the original language and then the subtitles on? What do you prefer? What do you think's better?
Well, since I'm learning Japanese, subbed.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's some animes like I think it sounds better dubbed.
Oh,
like in my opinion, like just like the way it sounds, but like since like for purposes of me like learning the language, subbed.
How long have you been learning Japanese for? Is it
2
a recent?
months.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's pretty recent. Because like I said, my mom just got into anime, so.
Do you? I had an episode on like learning languages. Do you use any applications to help you, like Duolingo or Rosetta Stone or anything like that, or is it just through the anime that you're learning?
I do use Duolingo. I use Kahoot. I'm also trying like other Japanese learning languages. Also, like my mom gave me like a book to like learn like kanji.
Nice.
So like I'm also trying to like really learn like hiragana and katakana. Like getting that packed down before like I go more into the kanji. So
yeah, awesome. Do you guys speak any languages? Like, are you bilingual, or do you just speak English? Is there anything else? Yeah.
Unfortunately, not. It's just mostly English. We do know some Spanish because we did grow up in like Miami, but like we never like actually like learned it because like most people just spoke to us in English, like our family members. So we didn't really pick up on any other languages.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up. My mother is Dominican, and yeah, she never taught me Spanish. She never really took the time to teach me Spanish. So
yeah,
no worries at all. With your podcast, what applications do you guys actually use to like record and edit? Because those that are maybe trying to start out with making their own podcast, what would they need to kind of like get started, do you think?
I mean, when we first started, we just got like a microphone off of Amazon, and then I just had like a recording device on like my computer. But yeah, that's like super basic. And then like we did a few Zoom ones. And then over time, like I started like researching more into like better equipment, and like for part of my job, like I do some videography, so like use like a mixer. So
then, of course, after we finish, recording the episode and whatnot, so we actually don't really edit. We kind of just leave it as it is. Yeah, we like to do everything in one go. Like if we screw up, it's like, all right, let's start back from square one and do this thing again. And what happens is after we're finished, we first initially started uploading it on Soundcloud because you got to start somewhere, and then we found out that we could upload it to all these other places through a website called, I think it was Anchor.
It was Anchor, but they changed it to something else. I don't know the new name.
Yeah, a friend of mine who also has a podcast, he mentioned it to me that like, yeah, you can upload, not that through this website, whatever it's called now, you can upload your episodes, throughout, which is great. Now expanded to Apple, Spotify, Amazon,
Google.
Yeah.
I actually didn't know that there's one app that can do that all for you. So I'm even going to start now. Really cool.
Yeah.
Did you guys have the intention of like being video podcasters, or did you want to be like audio only, or do a mix of both? Can you explain a bit more about that?
Yeah. Well, we started like just audio only because we're only like uploading to SoundCloud, but more recently we want to do like more videos, like showing things. Cause like there's this comic book shop that we go to sometime called Tate's, and like they have like Japanese snacks, and like can't really show what it is just through audio. So we want to do more like a video. I only have like one because I haven't been back in a while. But I do want to like do more testing and like showing the product or like showing things that we got. And then also did like on our YouTube channel, did like a short like me unboxing like the Chainsaw Man like phone case because I had like other stuff in it. So I thought that was really cool too.
Fantastic. So when you was first deciding whether you'd go video or audio, what would you advise people to do? Do you think it's easier to do audio or do you think it's easier to do video? Because you kind of dabbled in both. What do you think's easier?
I think for me, audio was better because like, you know, it's like, I guess like, you know, dress up and like be in front of like a camera. I guess like, because I know some people get like camera shy. So definitely go with like audio first and like kind of like build up, you know, the confidence to like speak before like you start like incorporating video.
Yeah, I agree. Awesome. And I think like the last thing that I'd like to ask you guys is, where would you want to see your podcast in maybe the next 5 years? What kind of like growth would you want to have achieved by then with your podcast?
I don't know what to answer.
Well, I guess I'll go first, but I know for sure, you know, I know that I said, you know, initially that it's a beautiful thing that we don't have any sponsorships, but it would be nice to have sponsorships because sponsorships, you know, help pay for stuff. And, you know, one sponsor that I would really love to have, and I'm not joking, is Popeyes. Okay, you know, I can't stress that enough. But another thing I want to see our podcast, you know, I just want to be able for it to, in the next 5 years, just grow more, get more of an audience, more followers. Another idea that we had, and we've had it on the back burner just because we haven't been able to put into fruition yet. But, you know, obviously a lot of these talk shows, you know, the way that they do their thing, you know, live in front of a live audience, I would love for us to do that one day. You know what I mean? And maybe have like a couple of guests, put a couch on, you know what I mean? I think that would be really cool to do like for one of these episodes. Yeah.
That would be awesome. You don't really see a lot of audiences like listening into a podcast. That would be sick.
Yeah.
I want to thank you guys again for like giving up your time to be here and come on. I really appreciate it. And it was really nice to meet you guys as well.
It was a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you. I'll make sure to link their SoundCloud podcast in my description and also their YouTube channel as well. So if you want to reach out and talk to them, maybe hopefully they'll be happy to answer any questions.
Sure, yeah.
Thank you again, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.
All right, take care.